from Middlesbrough. You probably realise we've got the best football team going. Any Norwich fans here? Yeah, no. I'm still capable in that car park. No, only kidding. So, my name's Graham, as you know. This is Mark. Mark, I found him on the A1 hitchhiking, so I just brought him on with kids. So Mark, I've known Mark since he was about 15. He used to be a football hooligan as well, and there's had a lot of things go on with him. For time really, he didn't want us to get up and share, but Mark's issue started when a man used to hold him down and rape him at gunpoint on our council estate, a really rough council estate in Middlesbrough. And Mark struggled with mental illness for years and years, and in and out of mental institutions, electric shock treatments, and he was on his way to kill himself, and came past us, came in, and the rest is history. He got rid of the tablets he was going to kill himself with, and the suicide note, and he's here today with me. So I don't like to travel on my own. I don't know about yourselves, but when I travel, it's much safer to travel with a brother, not because of any violence, but it's accusations. The Lord even sent 2 people to get a donkey, so I travel wherever I go with someone. So that's it really. Thanks for coming, and I'll see you again. So I always start my story really where about 9-year-olds, and the reason about that is because a lot of things happened that I remember. Obviously there's a lot of things that happen when you're a kid, but they're not playing in your mind. And someone once said to me, Graham, how do you remember all them things? Let me tell you something. I can't remember my birthday last year or the year before, but I remember painful encounters, or encounters that have affected my life, and there's been many of them, so I can tell you the story of them. Now I just want to set the record straight really. We travelled 293 miles last night. To tell you the truth, not to lie, I haven't come to lie to you. I have a beautiful wife and 2 great kids at home who I'm not with now today because I'm here. And Saturday I guard it with my life usually, because it's the only day really I'm free. Tomorrow I'll be travelling to Scunthorpe with my son, who plays football for Hartlepool, the Hartlepool Academy, and I'll be travelling with him tomorrow. So I could be at home with my family, and if I wanted to lie about a story, I could just nip round the corner and find some people on the street. Yeah, so I could find some people on the street to tell a lie to. So we come to tell you the truth. The other thing is I'll never boast about my past. It's rubbish. I'm just going to tell you it because you've asked me to come and share my story. Is that okay? Yeah. So I just wanted to put that in context. When I was 9-year-old, things started going wrong for Graham. Up until then, there was a lot of fun. I lived in Berwick Hills, not far from where Mark lived. Mark lived in Park End. I lived in Berwick Hills, which is 2 big council estates in Middlesbrough. And on our street, it was like everybody was in the same boat. So some had lived with a nana, some lived with a mum, some lived just with a sister. But a lot of us were in the same boat. And the same boat was there wasn't a dad about. And so, in my case, it became where there was no mum or dad about. But what happened was, when I was 9-year-old, my best friend who was Somalian called Tony, we used to meet every night. We called it Ellaby Green, our street. And the reason they called it Ellaby Green was we didn't have a garden. But at the top of our street we had a piece of grass, which was probably about as big as this square. But you know when you're little, it's massive, innit? Have you ever gone somewhere where you used to be when you were little, and you think, flip me like it's tiny now, but when you were little it was massive. Well, this piece of grass was our Wembley, and we used to box on there, and we used to make a ring, so we'd get 4 people and make them in the corners, and we'd nick some washing line, usually ours, and you wrap it around people and make a ring. you nick someone's cushions in your box, take on the streets around us, and we always won. No, we didn't. We wanted to. And but we had good fun there. But what happened one Friday night, I went to meet Tony there, my best friend, and he wasn't there. I thought, where's he gone? So on the Saturday we're going to Escalating Park, the Borough game, because we used to sell tickets, golden goal tickets, because you got a free entry ticket to get in, and a bit of pocket money. So we were skins, you know, no, very poor, no biscuits, no milk and stuff like that. So me and Tony always went together, just walked down to Escalating Park. And this day, he wasn't there. Even on the Saturday, I thought, where's he gone? So on the Sunday, he came, I said, where have you been? He said, I've been to see my dad. And I honestly thought to myself, what's one of them? I know my mum's got a dad, but I haven't got one. Non-existent in my home. So in my little house where I lived on the council estate was my nan and granddad, my mum, obviously me and my three uncles, Teddy, John and Derek. So it was like a little cramped place, you know. So I remember my mum worked on a pub on the estate called the Jack and Jill, and she was stood there looking in the mirror, putting her lipstick on, and I ran in and I said, Mum, why haven't I got a dad? And she went and she looked at me with dread. She think, oh, I was hating this question to come. So she said to me, don't worry, I love you. Your nan and granddad love you, you don't need a dad. So that was the first time I heard my mum mention the word love, and which was non-existent in my life, by the way, that word love. Yeah, I didn't understand it. So anyway, I never asked her again. But a little bit later, my granddad came in and said, we've got a couple of things to tell you, to tell everyone really. We're moving. I've got a better job. I'm the head ladleman now at British Steel. My granddad was in the Second World War, and when he come back he started at British Steel, and he became the head man on the ladle side, and he was going to move us, and I hated him. I really hated him for moving us to somewhere else. And he took us to see it. He took us to see this place where we were moving to, and it was like a little posh place. It wasn't that posh, but it was poshish. The reason I knew that is because cars had tax on. And they had milk bottles on the doorsteps, non-existent. I mean, our milkman was Mike Tyson. Yeah. Seriously, we didn't have milk, and even had little yogurt pots, which it was crazy. I'd never seen it before in my life, but I thought I'll have a field day here, and I could set my own business up. But I hated it. When we moved, I hated it so much because I wouldn't have known it then, but I was jealous because most of these people had mums and dads and brothers and sisters, and they sat and ate together, and my nana was mentally ill. She went to a mental institution all her life, Monday to Friday. She often went missing. She had electric shock treatment herself, and she was an alcoholic. And I understand now why my granddad moved her, but then I hated him. I hated him for moving me from Berwick Hills to this place called Ormsby. Now the problem is it was only like a mile and a bit away. But Berwick Hills, a 10-year-old, might as well be in Brazil. It's just rock hard to get to, even to walk to, because you don't know where you're going. I attempted it all the time. Anyway, to cut a long story short, I got bullied a bit verbally. People, the older kids, not the kids my age, or the kids that are just a bit older than me, but the really old ones would say things to me. And our next door neighbour, when he used to pop his head up, I used to punch him and bust his nose. And I used to like the sight of that blood when I hit him, and I thought, right, you'll put in your place, so you'll keep your mouth shut. But he was well known on the estate, and there was a kid who was 4 years older than me who really terrorised me for a while. And but my granddad liked to drink and used to go up to my mum's pub. My mum was still a barmaid, and I went boxing, started boxing at the age of just over 11 at a boxing gym called Joe Walton's. And I went on to have 28 amateur fights and won the 28 fights, big head. But I started boxing, and I remember one night this lad coming up to me, and I'd had enough now, I'd had enough. So this lad come up to me called Steve Sarger, his nickname was Blue Jeans, and because he also wore green jeans, only can get blue jeans on constantly, so I punched him, knocked him on the floor, and he never bullied me again. But what I noticed was everyone who didn't want to talk to me, anyone who was anyone, all wanted me involved. And the saddest thing is for me, at that point, and I say it's sad, because my mates, my two best friends became them. And I started to use them instead of this or this. And my friend said we should have been called Bungalow, there was no upstairs. But I was really interested in fighting, because when I fought with someone, people would want to know me, people would come and call for me or involve me. So I just carried on doing that, carried on fighting. But my nana tried to kill herself one night in front of me, and it really broke me. I used to cry myself to sleep a lot when I was young, especially when we moved, wondering where I was from. People say horrible things to you, wondering who my dad was, and sometimes thinking, is my granddad my dad, and me, there's something nasty going on, or is my brother, my uncle, my dad, or I used to think all kinds of things and end up crying myself to sleep because I didn't know where I was going to end up. But 12-year-old, my nana tried to kill herself again, and I went to see her. And my nana used to, when she was drunk or off her head on Largactil medication, she'd put her arm around me and say, I love you, son. And it used to make me feel warm in here for a little while, that someone was on my side and someone cared. But it didn't last, because I knew she was like either drunk or on Largactil medication. But I was expecting that. I went to see her after 2 weeks of being in hospital. When I got there, she said, who are you? And I ran away, and I felt like someone had put their hand in my chest and started to squeeze my heart. It was the worst rejection I'd ever had. Now, my mum had got married and left, and I was hurt about that, but this was something else. I remember being so frustrated, I cried in anger, and I always say that night, the lemonade bottle, I shared like a lemonade bottle, getting shook up, and the top explodes. That night, the lemonade bottle exploded, because I made a decision at 12-year-old, which children shouldn't do at 12, to never let anyone make me cry again. So I joined the skinhead gang with me and Tony. They weren't racist, obviously my mate's Somali and a lot of them were black. But we were into anarchy. I didn't know how to spell it, but I knew he had a little ear with a circle around it. So we were into anarchy. Anything that went wrong, anything that you could do bad, we did. And I was sick of my life, and I just wanted attention. So I started to fight with older men, getting beat up constantly by older men. I had a bit of a daft name going around my area, saying like he's the hardest in the area, which was like a magnet to everyone else who want to fight you, and people would come and fight me, and I'd end up losing because they were a lot older than me, and it went on and on and on. At 15 I was accused of murder. I was in the cells for 5 days, went to court in a paper bag. A lad had been killed one night, and my friends had wrote a statement saying it was me, and I wouldn't believe it. I thought my mates would never do that to me. But 16-year-old, I mean, that was proof that the lad had died. There was an accident on a bus. We got run over by a bus after the riot. When I was 16, I ended up going to jail for the first time. I went to a detention centre called Medhamsley, which was in all the papers not long ago, and the establishments were told to give you a quick sharp shock, and you used to march everywhere. It was like an American style boot camp, and I went there, and I hated authority, I hated discipline. If you said go left, I'd go right. In fact, I'm a bit like, now if my sat-nav says go left, I'll turn into a field. I'll just turn right into a field. No, I'm kidding. Or into a river, can't I swim? No, I'm kidding. So I was proper angry at anything to do with authority, and being kicked out of school and all that stuff. And So I lost my first tooth in that jail and I was put in solitary confinement quite a lot. I had my ribs broken and my face smashed in and all that by the staff because I attacked them and didn't want to do what they told me to do. When I got out of there I was worse than I went in, and I didn't expect what was to happen when I got out, but I was still living with my nan and granddad. I had a proper bad attitude. I used to swear at my granddad and tell him to F off, and wouldn't do that to my nana, but I'd stop caring for her as well in a way. And because I wouldn't dare let anyone get in here, ever. And so my granddad died. He had a massive heart attack and died, and I got the blame because he got this thing called high blood pressure when I was 13, and he died as a result of the high blood pressure. So my family weren't very happy about me being like that, you know, doing them things. So I went to the funeral, turned my back on everyone, I was homeless, and me and Tony were wondering what we'd do next. And one night I was in a place called Over the Border in Middlesbrough, which was the old Middlesbrough, over the other side of the railway lines, and we were in a pub called the Gosford on Gosford Road, and these lads came in, it was night time, about 6 o'clock, half 6. They all had tracksuits on, not all of them, but some had like leather jackets and caps on, and when they came in, we recognised some of them. They came over and sat talking to us, and we got asking them, where have you been and all that. You know, some got blood on them and ripped tops, and so we've been to the match, fighting at the match. So for the next 2 hours they started telling us about the football violence and what happened and where they went. And when you were a skinhead, all you did was fight on the park or on the street, or rob a shed or rob a car or break into a warehouse or go and fight someone in a pub for a dare. Or it was really boring. Really boring, honestly. What a boring life. I was sick of it. So I decided that these lads travel all over England. That's all they do it for. They travel all over England, and then when there's no football, they go dancing. Now, I believe it or not, I used to like dancing. That's what they go to, like. They go to a Northern Soul, Wigan Casino, Cleethorpes. So, and then they were telling us that every football hooligan, like most of the football hooligans, have places to go to because they have relatives who own the pubs and own the nightclubs. And Tony went to me, he said, your eyes were like that. I said, no, I was on speed, only kidding. Sorry. He said, you were buzzing about it. I said, I know, it's our new life. So that's what we're going to do, so like I'd won the lottery or something, you know. And I couldn't believe how exciting it was. And all I wanted was to be part of something. When I was a skinhead, to be honest, I just wanted to be part of a family. And when I became a football hooligan, I wanted to be part of that family. And like families stick together, I thought, that's what you do. So I was loyal to the head people. And what happened was I started going to matches. I wasn't there long. Went to Borstal. Went to a Borstal called Diebold at Barnard Castle. I was in there for 13 months. I got out of there and went back to these matches. And by the time I was in Borstal, knives came out, Stanley knives and things like that. And we were playing West Ham in the City Firm. If there's any in here, I'll see you later. Only kidding. So I've met loads, and honestly I could go on forever and tell you the stories, but I've met loads and loads of ICF in jail, and we have a great crack. But we went down to fight West Ham, we met at East Ham, went through the Indian market, and cut a long story short, because of time, I'll be finished about 3. I got slashed across the face with a double-edged Stanley knife, didn't even know what happened. Another time at Millwall, I got hit with a sword, got a big delve in my skull. Everton, I had a bit of my chin tucked away, I had my little finger chopped off. I've had a big cut here at Leeds where my muscle came through my arm, been stabbed out in the arm and chest, 4 arms, got no front teeth. I've had a bottle stuck in both my eyes, I've got like holes in my head where I've been with hammers and axes and things, and but I had a good life, as you know. And I spent 10 years of my life in jail, and so it was quite exciting. And, so anyway, it was all I knew. I didn't know any more. And the worst bit of it, even today, of all my life, the worst day of my whole life was the day my nana died. And I went to a funeral. Them were the worst 2 days ever that I've ever known in this life. And I've been through hell, to be honest. My own doing. Honestly, it's no one else's choice, it was my choice. And I've been through hell. And these 2 days were the worst days of my life. When I found out my nana had died, and when I went to the funeral, because I went to the funeral, and remember I said I wouldn't boast about nothing. It's just like I'm telling you the story. I went to the funeral and I had lots of money. I was working for the firm at the time, getting money and stuff like that. I had quite a big physique. I was 6'5.5". I've always been good looking. Can't help that. And I went in an Armani suit to make a point to this family, my family. And when I got there, I wasn't expecting what would happen. Matt just put it in his pockets. And so I didn't expect what was going to happen to me, because I thought the little kid who was in here, who used to cry himself to sleep, was gone. Because I was always busy fighting or impressing people or working for the firm. I was on like 1,500 quid a week, and 1983 and 84 I was making a lot of money. I bought my first house with cash, and I had Mercedes and Jags and girls and walking to nightclubs, all the crap that goes with it, forgive that word, but I had all the rubbish that you can think of. I went out to the funeral and I stood there and I watched this coffin go through the curtain. The little kid was there, and even now, all these years later, I still sense it. And I heard myself shouting loud. I didn't do it, I wouldn't do it. Nana, don't leave me, because now I'm alone. I wouldn't do it. And I had my hands so tight, with all my rings on my Rolex watch, and I had them so tight that I couldn't move them for much long after. I wanted to cry, I wanted to scream, and that night I went on the rampage and ended up getting 6.5 years. I was broken. I didn't want to live no more. I was a really, really loose cannon. I was a dangerous guy. On that sentence, I just trained every day. I got up there 21.5 stone of muscle, 6'5.5", and I'd been fighting on the street all my life. I was 22-year-old and a very dangerous person because of what I'd done in jail, really, and how I'd lived. But it was a problem because I really didn't like it. I didn't really like it. I didn't like putting that mask on every day. I was sick of it. I wanted something else out of life. So by the time I was 23, I'm back in jail. Now I've got a big sentence again. It's nearly 3 years in Durham jail. I've been to Durham jail by then quite a lot. And sat in my cell, February 1989, sat in my cell, sat there in February, and I'm thinking to myself, there must be something else in life than this. By Christmas that year of 1989, I had a plan, Graham's plan. It was foolproof. I thought, I'll leave this jail, I'll leave Middlesbrough when I get out in 1990 sometime, and I'll go and live somewhere else. So I have to find somewhere to live. So I started writing to people, because you didn't have phones and televisions and that then, and you didn't have toilets in the jail then, if anyone's been years ago, but didn't have none of that. And anyway, I ended up finding a family who lived in Wakefield. So I said, can I come live with you till I get my feet on the ground? And they said, yeah, no problem. So I got out in September 1990, said, see you lads, I'm off, I'm not coming back until I've sorted my life out. And some of my old mates were like, yeah, right, Graham, see you soon. And all that, you'll soon be back in the swing of things, and it's just that you're sick of going to jail, and that'll pass, and you'll get back into that situation again. I said, no, I'm not going to. Got to Wakefield, got a job straight away really in the Empire Stores catalogue firm in Lupset, next to Wakefield. Anyone know Wakefield? Anyway, I worked in a place called Lupset, and there was a guy there, actually lives there, a notorious guy called Paul Sykes, who was like the heavyweight champion boxer in the army. He's a proper dangerous lad in them areas, a bit older than me. Not as good looking neither. But, I got this job, and for the first 3 weeks it was okay, getting £100 a week, which I sometimes thought was absolute rubbish. It was 1990 and I'm used to like 1,500 to £2,000 a week. So I'm like, it's rubbish, this money, you know what I mean? I'm working, you know, it's legal, you know, and all that. I'm being moral, you know, and because I don't know what that really is. I don't know how good that is at the time. So I ended up robbing the factory, start nicking his watch sets and selling them in the pubs in Wakefield. And you know the books out there, underneath is a box with some watch sets still. There used to be a tenner, but they've gone up to 15. But someone said to me, everybody in Wakefield that year had a watch set for Christmas. But I was going around the pub selling, I got caught, got a sack. So what am I going to do? Because I'm going to go back home. I'm going to lose face and go back home and see all my mates. And they say, we told you, didn't we? So I'm going to do something else. So I thought, I know, I'm a big lad, I've done it before, work on the doors. So I walked in a pub called the Woolpack on Woolpack Court, the top of Westgate. And the guy Ian, who was the landlord, looked at me come in, his words, not mine. The lights went out when I walked in. And so I walked in and said, have you got any jobs? He said, do you want to work on the door? I said, yeah, I'll do out. Yeah, work on the door, definitely. He said, well, you see that door there, which was the alley doorway, that's where we get the most trouble. Will you watch that door? I said, yeah, no problem. So I started working there. Got a few people barred out, said they couldn't come in and stuff because we were just taking the mick really. And then that Paul Sykes come, he'd only just got out of prison, one of the jails, and I knew him anyway. I met him in jail by then and before, and he come and he said, oh, I'm alright, and this, that and the other, and said, why don't you go and work somewhere else and I'll get you a better job. So the money was great, but I wasn't going to leave this job because he asked me to, I just wasn't going to do it. So I was on a good thing because he got me a job on a Rooftop Gardens nightclub, which was £50 a night. And he knew the boss there called Rick, and said to Rick, he won't make it, he won't get there till 11. He meant to be there at 9, but he still wants his £50. So I worked on the alley doorway and let these lads come in who were selling cannabis. So it was a favour for a favour. I'll still get me £35 a fee. And then so £85 I was getting in 1990 a night, good money in it. Plus at Christmas, because it was Christmas time in 1990, you get money off people to put in the buckets as they're coming in the pub. If they don't, you just tip them upside down and shake them. Yeah. Someone said to me, why did they get so big and muscular? I said, because I was a shoplifter, they're very heavy, them shoplifters. So, I'll leave the pauses. So I was doing all right. I was still not drinking. I was still not fighting with anyone, only people who were causing trouble. And so things were going well. I got myself a little flat. I got the flat done out. I paid like quite a bit of rent up front and got a girlfriend, and I had everything going that you could think of. But in here, still, was a little kid. There was a little kid still here, which every now and again popped up. And I wasn't happy. I got depressed and little thoughts, and it wasn't good, it wasn't healthy for me. So I tried anything to get rid of it. So I started having the odd drink. New Year's Eve of 1990 to 1991, I ate an undercover policeman, accidentally. And and I went to jail anyway. I got, long story, I got bailed and I went back to Middlesbrough and I came back and went to Leeds Crown Court, got 2 years, went to Army prison. But for the first time of going to jail, and I knew quite a lot of people in that prison, I felt depressed, really depressed. The psychiatrist, when I ended up in the mental institution that my nana went to, said I'd had like a psychotic break but inward, and I just shut down inside and wanted to die, didn't come out of my cell. I lost 5 stone. Wish I could do it now, but I lost 5 stone and I didn't want to live. Another selfish act. So many people want to live and he's me not wanting to live. Just selfish, runs through my veins, selfishness. And so I got out eventually and went back to Middlesbrough, and everything was different in Middlesbrough, totally different to when I went away, because I'd gone to Durham prison in 1989, now it was 1992, so I've been away a long time, and everything was different. Tony had kids, and you know, I used to think he's crackers, he's got a job and all that. What's he doing getting a job and looking after his family, and he doesn't go out on a night, he must be ludicrous, you know what I mean? So I tried my hardest as his best friend to get him away from his marriage. That's what best friends do, innit? You know, absolute crank I was. And but I couldn't see it, I didn't see that life. And that's what I did. Anyway, Tony didn't want to come, he had responsibilities and he loved his kids and things like that. So I ended up getting into all kinds of trouble again and got depressed and started drinking more than I'd ever drank before. And I thought, I don't want to live inside a house or a flat, or I'm going to find somewhere outside to live. And I found a bench in the Middlesbrough town centre, a really rough street. It was a red light district where all the prostitutes stood. All the lights had been shut out, so the police couldn't see down it. It's called Grange Road, which was it's not now, but it was a very, very dangerous street to be in. And what happened was, I sat there for 3 years and became a tramp. But I was there for the first year just drinking, doing the odd job for people to get money. Sorry mate, and the pizza's on the way.
They've missed yours, sorry.
So the first year I was still getting a bit of money to drink and stuff, but the second year I'd conned everyone, and like people couldn't take any more of me, getting money out of them and knocking them back, and so they avoided me and wouldn't answer the door and things like that. And so the second year I was so depressed, I started drinking and injecting heroin and shooting heroin and all that, and then by the third year I'm on crack and anything I can get my hands on, and begging for drugs and money and drink, and nicking sandwiches out of shops and selling them, like even going into a charity shop and robbing a charity shop and nicking the collection in church, and anything I could get my hands on to get myself some heroin or some crack cocaine or some alcohol, I did. And my friends from before, like remember I said I wasn't boasting about alcohol, but my friends from before couldn't work it out, because at one point, Mark will tell you, I used to be the trendsetter, me and my friends. We didn't have designer shops in Middlesbrough. We brought the fashion in, we brought it in, and people were buying it. That's why I could sell so much counterfeit clothing in them days. And so people couldn't believe that I was this smelly tramp, and they tried to help me over and over again, different people, but I didn't want to know. In March 1996 I was gone. I didn't realise my insides were shutting down, and I didn't eat much, and I drank and took drugs and started not being able to see properly and couldn't walk and all that carry on. And then I was approached in March by this organisation called Teen Challenge. Well, Patrick Hinton had set up this ministry after reading a book called Tough Love, and he decided that in 1995 he was going to set up this ministry called Teen Challenge in Middlesbrough, called Teen Challenge Teesside. And the first night they went on the streets after all the training, they met me. I was the first person they met. And when they told me that Jesus loved me, I told them to go away politely. I think I said something like, please leave me alone, in French. But they went anyway. This story's going to get very good now, by the way. The awesome bit's coming now. So for 6 months, I just heard them coming on the street. Anyway, anyone who's watched the video of the reenactment, they'll see that I collapsed. I went into a coma. I was in a coma for 6 days, and when I woke up out of the coma, my mother was there. She was sat at the side of the bed. Now, my mother disowned me when I was 22. Now I was 32. She said that I was dead, that she'd had enough of me beating my stepdad up and robbing the place and doing all the bad stuff that I used to do. So she was at the side of the bed, and they took the ventilator machine out of my throat and put an oxygen mask on, and I took it off and I said, "What the F are you doing here?" And she told me this story that I'm about to tell you, that she'd been called to the hospital on the 6th day of the coma, and there was loads of people there. Tony was there for 6 days, and lots of people came to say goodbye to me. I'd had my last rites. My mum was given the forms to turn the machine off that was keeping me alive. And these lads found out on the street that I'd gone into this coma and that I was dead. So they came to pray for me. And they came into the room on my own, and they put their hands on me and said, "In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, give this man new life." And I woke up, came round myself. This consultant came, my mum ran with him. She had the form in her hand that she was about to sign to turn the machine off, it was keeping me alive. And got the consultant and said, "I thought you said he was dead." And they said he was. There was nothing I could do for him. Everything had shut down, his kidneys, his liver, his brain was going to be swelling and all that carry on. And my mum said, "Well, he's alive, he's breathing, he's sat up." And he come and he was, the guy, I wasn't conscious then properly, but the guy apparently was blown away, this consultant, Dr. Cole Smith. He couldn't believe it. He said, I can't medically tell you what's happened." And my mum said they prayed, and I said, "Who did they pray to, like, mum?" And they said, "Jesus." And I said, "Well, what does he want to know about a scumbag like me for?" Because I had no idea about God or Jesus. I had no idea, because I was ignorant and arrogant and thought I was better. And so she told me that these lads prayed for me, and I said, what do they want to know about? What do you want to know about me for? Anyway, the lads came, I asked them, and they started telling me stories. I was in hospital for 2 months, couldn't walk for 7 weeks. I had to get taught to walk again by the therapists. They were good talk. We got me walking again anyway, and then I left hospital. I went back to live in this really rough council estate called Winniebanks. Lived in the back of a bedroom of a house, and the people on the street had rallied round, painted the bedroom out for me black and white, and got me a double bed. And I can't tell you where it came from. I don't know myself, but I had a brand new telly and video and hi-fi system, and everything you could ever want in that bedroom was there. Apparently they'd just been over at Teesside Park and took it all, but there you go. And but I felt different in here. Now if I said to you, if you don't know Jesus today, but if I said to you, "I've got a headache," you can't see it, can you? You can't see my headache. You've got to believe me that I'm telling you I've got a headache. And when I was telling people that there was something, why am I shouting? What's happening? It's probably because it's getting good. Yeah. Getting passionate about this bit. I hate that other bit. And but all I know that in here, for definite, there was something different. And I couldn't explain it, but it was a nice feeling. And so one night, I'd only been out of hospital for 2 weeks. I had my walking stick, and I was looking out the window, and the retail park and the A19 goes through our estate, and then you've got the retail park, Showcase Cinema, and Teesside Park over there. Some kids running over the bridge. 3 of them are dead now, but they're running over the bridge. And I know where they've been. They've been nicking handbags, robbing the shops for drugs, cannabis and cheap wine. And there was a burnt out car at the top of our street, and I was looking at them, and my heart just started to pound. And I wanted to cry to help them. I wanted to help them. And I thought, I need a psychiatrist. I've never wanted to help anyone in my life. So I told the family who were looking after me, and guess what they said? They said, "Don't worry, Graham, it'll pass. You know, you just feel vulnerable because you want to help people. When it passes, you'll be back to normal." But I went to bed that night and I couldn't sleep. I wanted to help people, especially young people. So I rang Tony from that house and said, "Tony, can you come and see me?" So he'd come up. I said, "Tony, tell me the truth, brother." Because we were like very close, we'd known each other forever. I said, "Was I really dead, or did my mum make it up just to stop me taking drugs and getting into crime and that?" He said, Graham, I promise you I was there 6 days, you were dead. He said, I phoned the pubs, told them you died. You got your last rites. I said, and there's something wrong with me then, Tony. Something different about me. I said, go and get them Christian people. You know Tony, don't you? You know Tony. So Tony went and got him, but when Tony came for you, you went. So he turned up, got these Christian men and brought them to us. And I told them that I want to help people. So they said, you need to go to an alpha course. So I said, what's an alpha course? They said, well, you go to this church. I thought, I wouldn't want to go to church. I said, it's on a Wednesday, don't worry. There's no service around. And you get a meal. I said, sign me up. I'm coming. I was 13 stone, just come out of the coma, just come out of the hospital. And I went to this alpha course, expecting a load of rubbish, you know, just at me meal and thought I'd go for a walk. And but this man called Martin Rudder told a story. The first night was, who is Jesus? When he told the story who Jesus was, I was totally blown away. Because I didn't know that. I thought Christmas Eve was all about getting mortal, getting drunk, and I'm trying to avoid going in the cells. And I thought Easter, where you beat mods up or heavy rockers. Sorry if you were a mod or a heavy rocker. But I didn't know anything about this person called Jesus. A week after, the session was always, why did Jesus die? I didn't even know that. So I started to get really interested in this guy who for some reason died for Graham. Now when I was on the front line, I would have died for my friends. I could understand that because you're loyal and you want to not let them get the better of you. But this guy apparently had everything and give it up for Graham. No one had ever done that for Graham for nothing ever. So it really moved me, it really spoke to me. The week after it was, how can I be sure of my faith? I went home that night and I knew in here there was something different about me, and there was something real on offer. And I kept going, I was still swearing, I still had silly thoughts, I still get them now and again. I still had silly thoughts and I was still swearing and I was still a little bit angry. But on November the 9th, 1996 at 2:45, I made a decision to say to Jesus, if you're real and you love me, words aren't enough. I've been told I was loved all my life, and them words are cheap. I don't believe them, so I need to know. And there and then I fell into my seat and I started to weep. Now I hadn't cried for no one since I was 12. You cry when you're drunk, don't you? You cry about outdoor, you're like, oh, a leaf fell off a tree or a cat crossed the road. You cry about outdoor, sober. You do, I'm sober. I didn't cry for no one at all. And here I was sobbing, but they weren't the tears of the little boy who used to cry himself to sleep. They were tears of hope and joy and peace. And I tell you the truth, I haven't come to lie to you. I told you right from the minute of this talk, I knew what I had to do. So 22 years ago, in November coming up, I went on the street in Middlesbrough to my bench where I lived, and I started telling everyone, 10 o'clock at night, November the 9th, 1996, that Jesus Christ loves everyone. I knew nothing about the Bible. I hadn't read it, couldn't read. I didn't know how to read and write. But I did know that someone died for Graham. I felt it, I knew it. And I went on this mission in my town. It's been very difficult. I've been there 22 years. And you know what it says in the scriptures? In Mark 4, I believe it is. And it says, a prophet is only without honour in his own town. It's been very difficult, but God has never spoke to me about leaving. I could have left in 1998. My wife's from London. She was born in Shoreditch. You know, they were born in Shoreditch and she lives in Romford now. Could have went to live there. Could have set up something there. But I was called to be in my backyard. in my town. And I tell you the truth, only the last 11, 12 years I've seen salvation massively. Major people, heads, the best fighters on the street, the top, I don't mean like on an estate, or the best street fighters coming to know Jesus, my best friends now. You know, Mark, getting to know, he was dangerous when he was a kid. BD, stabbing people, he's a Christian. All the lads who are getting to know Jesus now, because I believe I've stood where I was meant to be and preach the gospel. I do know very soon things will start happening even bigger. But I met Natasha and I always wanted my own family. God's faithful, you know. I went from living on a bench to living in a flat, to getting married, to being a dad, to having a little home, and all through serving the Lord. And you know the interesting thing is, when I hung on to things, you know all I ever got was white knuckles. And when I'd learned what Jesus wanted me to do was hold on to it like that, I only got more. I've only got more, it doesn't belong to me. I'm only a trophy of God's grace, used by Him. You know, my greatest gift of God is speaking to kids who've been kicked out of school. I work with forensic psychologists all around the country, in Kent, in Milton Keynes, in Liverpool, and Manchester, and Birmingham, and Sheffield. I travel all over to speak to children, 14-year-old who've murdered people, and there's no wonder they've murdered people. I'm not excusing them, but no wonder. No one's ever told them about Jesus. No one ever told me about Jesus. Jesus is the key to freedom. I mean real freedom. Total freedom. And I'm going to tell you this story, then I'm going to stop. I'm going to pray, because there's 6 people in this room who need to know Jesus. 6 people, and I want to tell you, lads, there's some men in here who could be significant in your area. I'm just going to stand up a minute. It's one of my favourite scriptures. It's in John chapter 18. And the story is, they come to arrest Jesus, right? So it tells you throughout the Gospels, when you read Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, you find the information about the arrest and who went to get him. So first of all, there was a detachment of soldiers went for him. Several hundred guards with shields and swords and helmets and all that carry on. So they meant business. Listen, I've been arrested quite a few times. And the most that has ever tried to handle me over the border, when I had a pot on my arm, was 20. 20 coppers came to get me. They didn't take 20, but they sent a couple of vans that people to come and get me. And I had a pot on my arm and I was swinging it about 8 coppers with. Now there's a detachment of soldiers going to get Jesus, several hundred. But then it says, a bit later on in one of the other Gospels, a bit further before, sorry, the mob come. The mob was the village, pickaxes, pitchforks and sticks and lanterns, a bit like the old Frankenstein films. Remember them? And they all come. Yeah, they're all coming for him. So there's a couple of thousand people coming for Jesus. Now, I want to say this to you, men. When you become a Christian, you're meant to be a wimp. You're a wimp. Or someone's broke your back. Or the jail's broke the back, or you was in coma, or there's always an excuse why you're a wimp, or why you've turned to Jesus. But the real reason you become a Christian and follow Jesus is because you become harder and stronger than you've ever been before. Ever. Ever. I'm harder now than when I ran into 200 football fans, Millwall, West Ham, Man United, anyone, like a nutter, and getting hit with hammers and sticks and machetes, and I'm harder now for not doing that than I've ever been. And it says this in John 18, when the mob turn up, heavy-handed, to arrest one man. Hang on a minute, I thought you were a wimp. If you follow Jesus, why so many? Because when you become a Christian, and Jesus Christ himself was no wimp whatsoever. You know, he wasn't scared of the dark. There's people in here still scared of the dark, still steal the light on. He wasn't scared of the dark. He put the demon in his place, the Satan in his place when he got baptised. Why do you think he went in the wilderness? Guess who was in town, he said? The devil's bottle went. Woo! Petrified of Jesus. I thought you were a wimp. And this is what happens. It blows my mind. When I heard this story, it blew my mind. They say, who is Jesus? There's loads of them. They shouldn't be scared of anyone. There were swords and, as I said, loads of them. And Jesus comes and says, I'm him, full of love. And it says every one of them hit the ground in fear. Hang on, I thought you were a wimp. Let me tell you, lads and men, when you ask Jesus into your life, he's certainly not a wimp. He's certainly not a wimp. You become a strong, courageous and bold man. You just choose to do things differently to the world. When I work with the kids in the prison, I'm going to look at the really young kids, or I go to a school where I go more now, I do more school work with kids who get kicked out of school or that. We go to a pro school. I say, listen, if you want to rebel, if you want to be rebellious, become a Christian. Because you go right against the tide. If you want attention, do something good, it lasts. They don't understand it, but after months of being with me, they start getting it and going back into mainstream school. That's not me, it's Jesus. This now being where riots are in prison, in the kids' prison. And the prisons rang me near where I live, the kids' jail, Hasselfield. Grantham, you come to, there's trouble. And there's 30 lads, young lads, 14, 15-year-old on the AstroTurf won't come in. All the guards can't get them in. I go in, I know who the hardest one is. I've been going in all the time, so I go and sit with him. What's going on? Oh, it's red hot in the classrooms, that was one of them. He's sweating in the classroom, stinks in the classroom. So we're having a protest. I said, listen, won't get you nowhere. Howie, let's go in. They get up and go in. They said I'm like the Pied Piper. I said, it's not Joe with me. I have a different authority. I can go and threaten you. You better get in there. Howie, then I'll fight all of you. Now I went in and said, listen, this gets you nowhere. Leave it with me, I'll sort it out. Within a month, every class had air conditioning. Every class. They start thinking, hang on a minute, you do it the right way, it pays off. Amen. It pays off. So Jesus was no wimp. And those men need to be real men of God to stand up and be and get stuck in to what needs happening, because there's a lot of work to be done, a lot of work. So I want to pray for us. I want to pray for the men who know Jesus, who maybe need a bit more oomph, you know, a bit more fire and a bit more grit between the teeth. And you know, I once heard this guy say, I wish somebody had sorted out, and my friend said, well, you're somebody. He didn't realise he was a somebody. He became a somebody, he went and did it. Mark is not a nobody no more like you thought. He's a somebody who helps people like me. I'm a somebody. I was a nobody really, thought I was somebody, but I was nobody. And then I become a somebody for Jesus. And I want to ask you, if you don't know him today, and you feel like a nobody at times, with no direction, it's on offer. It's on offer today. So, lads, can we just bow our heads and I want to pray for us, if that's alright. Father, I want to thank you so much in the name of Jesus for today. Thank you so much for Simon. I want to say what a man of God he is, for believing in me, Lord, and listening to God when the mess went on with the emails, and this was meant to be. It was meant to be. We've only come down, not obviously to see Paul, but for this meeting there was meant to be 6 meetings. There's only one, and if there was only one person, it would have been worth it.
Amen.
Lord, I want to thank you for the privilege of being able to share the rubbish and the greatness of my life. What you've done for me is possible for anyone. It's not just for me, but there's hundreds of thousands of people who were like me getting to know you around the world and around the country. So Lord, I do pray now in the name of Jesus that you would stir the hearts of them 6 people. Them 6 people who really need to know you. And I'm going to ask you to do something really brave. Jesus walked to the cross. I'm going to ask you to do something very, very brave. If you have never ever said to Jesus, I want you in my life, or you did and you didn't really mean it, and you want to now, I just want you to stand up. I want to pray for you. If you've got the courage, if you've got the bottle to do that, just ask you now. Once one does it, the rest will do it. If you're one of them people, no one's looking, everyone's eyes are shut. If you've got the bottle and you know that your heart's beating, you want to do that, and just stand. I'm not going to make this a long time, it's not going to bless you, brother. There's 5 people who need to stand up. I'm not going to make this a long time, but if you want to leave here and not do that, that's your choice. I'm only going to ask you a couple of more times. Are you one of them people? There's 1 brother stood up, there's 5 missing. Are you one of them 6 people who need to stand? If you are, stand up now. We pray. We pray that prayer that I prayed. And let the Lord Jesus into your life. And begin a new journey. Begin something great and awesome like I did. And many people here have. Are you one of them people? Are you going to stand? Listen to your heart. Don't be thinking about the people around you or the people back at the place where you are. Just stand. Keep our eyes shut. I just want to say this prayer, but just for the benefit of our brother who stood up, brave brother who means business, stood up. I want to say this prayer, and brother, if you can say it along with the rest of us, the prayer goes like this. Dear Lord Jesus.
Dear Lord Jesus.
Nice and loud. Dear Lord Jesus.
Dear Lord Jesus.
I acknowledge now.
I acknowledge now
that you died on the cross.
that you died on the cross
for my sins.
for my sins.
I ask you, Jesus.
I ask you, Jesus,
to come into my life.
to come into my life
and set me free.
and set me free.
I ask you, Lord.
I ask you, Lord,
to forgive me.
to forgive me
for doing it my way.
for doing it my way.
I ask you, Lord.
I ask you, Lord,
to give you permission.
to give you permission
to help me.
to help me
to do it your way.
to do it your way.
In Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Well done, brother. Well done. Guys, I'm going to pray a bit of power on you, and then I'm going to hand over to Simon. Father, I want to thank you, Lord. I pray that the men in this room would become men again.
Yes, Lord.
Men for you. That when someone says, where are you going? What are you doing? You will say, I'm following Jesus.
Yes.
Why don't you? So Lord, I pray that you give us that zeal,
Yes.
the first love back. Help us to follow you and speak about you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. That was powerful, Graham. Thank you so much. What the Lord's done in your life is just absolutely fantastic. It's one of them things where I had to restart my camera because it went on long, so it felt like 5 minutes. Fantastic. So thank you so much. Don't forget you can donate to Graham, but also you can buy a book on the way out as well. But thank you so much for coming. Just want to say, if there's anybody who, I know James comes to Mariners anyway, but if any of you felt that the time was right, you wanted to give your life to the Lord, and you need some follow-up, don't forget, come and speak to me, or speak to Graham, or speak to Paul or Jim, or whoever else you might know. But we've also got church tomorrow. I know some of you guys go to church. Maybe you can invite someone to church, or you can come and see me. You can always join us, and we'll offer you the support if we can. So yeah, just bear that in mind. So yeah, so again, let's give thanks for Graham.